So in the last class, we have seen that there are how arrays are created in the memory, what are actually arrays, how do we define multidimensional arrays, and in Java, arrays are objects. Objects means they are reference data types and they don't hold the actual value. They hold the address which points to the actual data in the memory, right? And since there are objects, so there are certain methods which we can use on arrays. We can see the length of an array. We can use. There are certain other every object in the in Java language. They have the superclass. They are inherited from the superclass object, right? So if somebody asks you what is the parent class of arrays, it has to be object. So whatever methods are available in the object class, they are available in the arrays also. So what I'm trying to say, so if let's say you created an array, so this is your main method, say A, right? So if you say A dot, so if you see all these methods, so you have object, all these, what does it mean? For this object, all these methods are available. Equals, get class, hash code, all these methods are available basically, and these methods are from object. So this particular reference types has taken the properties and methods of the object class, right? So this object is the parent of every reference type. Then you have another property which is called length, right? So length gives you the array of the length of that particular array. One more thing, whenever you define an array, you should also mention there are three things which you need to define. First thing, arrays are reference types. Then arrays holds similar data items that are stored in contiguous memory locations, and size of the array is fixed. You cannot, once it's initialized, once you create an array, not initialized, when you declare an array of a certain size, its size cannot change. Either you store, let's say I create an array of 10 integers. So I would create an array like this, right? New int 10. So now in this particular array, it doesn't matter, like 40 bytes are reserved. Either you use the 10 elements or you use just 5 elements. The size is fixed, right? It cannot be decreased or it cannot be increased, and the size of the array is fixed and has to be, and the size is required at the time of declaration, right? So arrays can be of any data type. It can be of primitive data type, or it can be arrays of objects. It can be arrays of arrays. So we can have arrays of primitive data type. So how do you define? Just like this, int x is equal to new int. So this is an array of primitive data type. It can be an array of arrays. So you are creating multidimensional arrays. So this is two-dimensional. So here you would be writing something like this, int 2, 3. So what it means that this array has 2 rows and 3 columns, right? So total number of elements in this array is 2 multiplied by 3, which is 6, right? Or it can be, this is array of arrays. or it can be array of objects. Okay, so let's say I have created a student class, right? So student is a class and I want to create an array of this class. So I can say student is equal to new student and let's say 5. So this is an array of objects. Okay. So and for every and this is an array of objects. So for now we need to create an memory. This actually creates a reference variable R student which is going to point 5 objects in the memory, right? Now I have to create that memory for the 5 objects also, right? So for every student, so let's say I create a student class like this, class student, and here it has certain fields like int, id, and string, name, right? So maybe some more fields. So how would I create an object of this class? Object of this class can be created as like student s is equal to new student, right? This is how we create an object. One object. Now this is an array of objects, right? So array of objects would be created means that there would be 5 objects of this class, of this array, right? How would I create a 5 objects? I would be creating, so my first object would be represented by add student 0, right? So add student 0. This is basically an object of class student. So how would I create it? So I would say student or add student 0 is equal to new student, right? So again add student 1 is equal to new student. So this is how we create, we would be creating 5 elements of this array, so on and so forth up till add student 4. Okay, so this statement only creates the reference object. So this statement would create a reference object on the stack, but it needs to point to 5 objects in the memory, right? So all those 5 objects, so how would it be like this? So how would be, let me show you how this would be present in the memory. So when you write this particular statement, student add student is equal to new student 5, this would create an object reference by the name add student, and in the heap there would be an an array of 5 references. 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and this is going to point to the first reference. Now first reference, first element of this is an object of type student, right? So by this, when you write this line, student add student is equal to new student 5, the reference variable is created and there are 5 you can say 5 reference variables are created in the heap. Now each of these reference variable is basically pointing to an object. Then we need to create the memory for this student object also, the actual object which is going to hold the value of ID and name, right? So these would be 5 objects created anywhere in the memory. There would be 1, 2, 3, 4 and 5, and each of these variables, reference variables, would point to all these objects. So R0 is pointing to this, R1 would be pointing to this, and this is going to point to this, this is going to point to this, and this one to this. Is it clear? So when you create an array of objects, 2 things are created. One, the reference variable which is actually pointing is created on the stack. It points to 5 reference variables or 5 objects in the heap, but all of them will hold null values. That is the default value of an array of objects. Okay.
Okay.
Now we need to create the where is that data? We need to create memory for that data. We need to create those objects by new operator. The actual data is there. Like, where are we going to hold these values? ID and name, right? We have to create a certain location in the memory where ID and name would be stored, right? So ID is going to take 4 bytes, and this is going to take the, like, initially it would be null, but it would be, let's say, by default it is null, because any class variables it would be null. So it would be a reference variable, again 4 bytes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yep.
So
got it.
Bytes per object would be stored somewhere in the memory. So this is basically 16 bytes. This is 16 bytes. 16 bytes. Every object is going to take 16 bytes. So we have to create memory for that 16 bytes as well. And let's say the address of this 16 first object is 1000. So in this array, so my first data value would be 1000. For this address, let's say this is 3456. So the data value for the second element would be 3456. Is it clear now?
Okay, got it.
In here, this is again an object, right? Again an object which actually points to some data, right?
Yeah.
So this is going to hold actual X, value of X, and the string address, whatever the name. ID.
The actual values it will hold.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So ID is basically the integer. So again, it's going to have the value 4. This is going to be 4. Right? So let's say here I create this new student. So let me create a constructor also. So do you know what is a constructor? So constructor is basically a method which is used to initialize the field variables, right?
Yeah.
So int ID and string name, and we define the constructor like this. So this dot ID is equal to ID, and this dot name is equal to name. So when I create a student object like this, new student, let's say 1 ABC, and then I have to create another one XYZ. I would be creating something like this. Right? So this new object has 2 variables. One is the primitive data type, and the other one is
a string.
String is an object, right? So it again holds here what it, so it will take, let me give you an example on this. So this would take 4, and the string is an object. Again, it's gonna store some address 2355, where 2355 is basically 2355 is basically another space place in the memory which is holding value XYZ,
Correct.
right?
Mm-hmm.
X, Y, Y, Z, and let's say the address of this XYZ is something, some address. This is some address, 200. So this is gonna hold, okay, this is 2355. This is gonna hold, uh, this is not 200, let it be 2355. Okay. So this particular object would be holding 4 and 2355. Is it clear or not?
Yeah.
Or little complicated?
No, I got it. Thank
Okay.
you.
So Prasanna says, how does null value look like in memory? Null value means that particular, when we created the object, the value, data value hold is blank, like it is not set, right? So whenever the compiler or your program tries to read that particular memory location, it throws an error that this particular this particular data or value is not available. Null is nothing. That means, yeah, Kavita. Null is nothing. That means there is nothing located there. You cannot read the value of any null object. It doesn't hold memory. Once you allocate memory, then there could be some value there. So when in this case also, when we first created the array, when we first created this array, all the 5 objects were holding null values. Null values means nothing was there. So there were no objects created. So once we created the object, then it holds the address of those objects. Okay. Let me record this. So Kavita says, why object string is the value name is not stored here? Because string is an object and objects are reference types. Reference types doesn't hold the actual data. They hold the address to the actual data. So when you create an object like this, like you create a string, in the string pool XYZ is created and the address of XYZ is stored in the object reference here. Kavita, is it clear?
Yeah, Shilpi. Thank you.
So we have seen how arrays are stored, right? Now how object references are stored, that also we have seen. The most popular object that anybody would be using in a Java program is string. So what is string? String is a special type of object. So we'll see what is more special about strings and how they are actually declared. So you would have been using string a lot of times, as we have created this particular class with the string as one of the class fields. Or in your program also you can say you must have written something like this, string str is equal to ABC, right? And you might have written sysout something. Sysout is a short form of system.out.println. So I would be typing here just sysout. Sysout str, right? So what is a string? String is an object which, since it is an object, so it doesn't store the actual data value. So when you create a string, so let me just save this. Okay. So when you say create a string, since it's an object reference, let's say I create a string here. So I would be typing here something like this. So this is an str, okay, and it holds. So in my string pool, there is a special, you would say, an area or the memory area which is allocated to hold string values or string literals, I would say. So when I say str into is equal to abc, what is abc? ABC, a string literal. What are string literals? Anything within double quotes is treated as a string literal. Okay. So whether I write here str is equal to abc, or I pass it as a constructor to anywhere, or if I type here abc dot length, so this is how you actually find the length of a string, or there are certain other functions. So anything within double quote is basically a string literal, and all the string literals are stored in an area called string intern pool. String internal pool, or you can say string pool. So I would tell you what is string interning also. So this is a kind of, you can say, special memory area in JVM where all those literals are stored. Okay. So when you create a string str is equal to abc, in string pool somewhere the data is created, here it would be abc, and the address of this would be stored in this reference. So let's say this is 1000, this particular memory location is 1000, so 1000 would be stored here, right? This is how you store strings. Now I say that it's a string interning pool. So what is string intern, or what is interning means? So as I've said, Java strings are the most you can say most popularly used in any Java program. So if it's a program has 1000 lines of code, there might be at least 100 strings or maybe more than 100 strings created in that Java program. So generally in an application it would be not 1000 lines, it must be multiple thousand lines of code. So just imagine how many strings it would be created. So what Java does, it creates just one copy of every string literal, in the sense that if I create an object like this, string str is equal to abc, and I create another string str1 is equal to abc1, it won't, abc, since these values are same, it will not allocate another memory for this particular string variable. It is going to use the same string variable, and just the address of whatever it was allocated here would be passed on to this. So for these two lines, first line str is equal to abc, this abc is created in the string pool and the address is allocated as 1000 to str. When I wrote created another str1 is equal to abc, what it happens, uh, another object reference variable is created in the stack, and this object reference actually does not create another object. It points to the same object in the pool. It points to the same object in the pool. This is called interning of the objects. So for same values, the strings are not created again and again. The same value is being used, and the reference or the address of that string is passed to any other reference that holds that value. So now I'll tell you one more thing. Let's say str is holding abc. In Java, there are certain classes like string and wrapper classes. You must be knowing about wrapper classes like integer, double. Notice the capital I, double, float. So all these are wrapper classes. All these classes are considered immutable. Immutable. So what does immutable means? And why we say strings are immutable? Immutable means once they are declared, once they hold a value, these value they cannot be changed. These values cannot be changed. What does it mean? It means that if 1000 location, this is 1000 location in the string pool, if it holds ABC, then that this particular, once it is created, it can never be changed. Only it would be destroyed by the garbage collector if none of the references are pointing to this. Does that mean I cannot change the value? Can't I write, once I've declared str is equal to ABC, can't I write str is equal to xyz? Of course I can do that. But what does that mean? What I'm changing? Am I changing the object value here? I'm not changing the object value. That means I'm not changing 1000. When I write something like this, when I write str is equal to xyz, it again another object is created. Remember, everything in double quotes is a string literal and it creates a different object unless and until it is not in the memory. So for this, it will not create a different object. But since xyz is not there, so it would create a different object in the memory. So in this string pool, there would be another object created with value xyz, xyz. And let's say the location, memory location for this particular xyz is 2000. So when I say str is equal to xyz, now it's not referring to ABC. Now this str is referring to xyz. So in the memory, this would be not 1000. The value which is going to hold by str would be 2000. But that ABC is still there. It's still there in the memory. It would be destroyed by the garbage collector if since it has been already been referred by str1. Now str1 is holding this memory, like now there is no connection between these two. This reference variable and this 1000, there is no connection, and this is pointing to the next object that has been created. So every time you change the value of string like this, like str, if I change, probably I can concatenate something. Str is equal to, let's say, hello. Again, another object would be created, right? So any modification with str doesn't change actually the object. It changed the reference to that object. Okay. So this is called string interning, and this is also the concept behind strings are immutable. So what does it mean by immutable? Immutable means that once created, the value can never be changed. So I can never change the value which is allocated in the string pool by and referenced by 1000 the memory address. So now let's say str1 is also changed. Now assume I change str1 also. Now I say str1 is equal to something, right? Now where this object is gone now, right? Now str1 is going to point into something. So in your pool, so this is your pool actually, and there would be a string created in this pool with value something, and now str1 is not going to point to this ABC. It's going to point at this string, and now here the value is also not 1000, and it would be some other value. Let's say this is 3000. So let's say this particular memory location is 3000. So it's going to hold 3000. So now my question is, what would happen to ABC? Can we still access ABC? No, ABC cannot be accessed because uh, once we cannot access it through any of this any of these variables, right? So ABC, since in Java, if a particular object is not referenced by any of the variables, it is available for garbage collection. So in Java, memory is managed and it is you can say it is released by a process. There is a process which is called garbage collection process. It's a process which is running in JVM, which cleans up the memory. That means all the objects that they need to be the memory could be released, and so that memory can be reused by another object. So that process is called garbage collection. And now ABC is available for garbage collection. So you cannot access this ABC. Okay. Okay. The next question, Shrivali says, if I want to find ABC again, let's say I'm writing a program, like there are certain values here, certain statements here. I want ABC. Maybe ABC is not, I'm not sure that it is available for garbage collection or not. So what I can do, maybe I can, create another string with str is equal to ABC, and if it is not removed by garbage collection, then it would point to the same ABC. If it is removed by garbage collection, then it would create a new object ABC. Okay. Kavita is asking why interning pool is created for str1 is equal to something. Anything within double quotes, it is added to the string pool. Anything in the double quotes. That double quotes could be anywhere in your program. It doesn't matter. It's a string literal. It would be created in the string pool. Okay. So what is immutable? Immutable means once the value is defined, then that value cannot be changed. So classes like string and wrapper classes like integer and so on are all immutable. Okay, so once I create an object, this particular object, it cannot be changed. Okay, and what is string interning? Means using the same object if the new string is having same value, right? So when I'm creating another object with the same value, it points to the same object. That is called string interning. In fact, in Java, for data types like short and int with values ranging between -128 to 127, these values are also returned. These values are also interned. That means when you create an integer, so I write integer I is equal to new, or I say integer I is equal to 124, which is within this range, and then if I write integer I1 is equal to 124, this is not going to create a new object. It's gonna point to the same object, but the range should be -128 to 127. Okay, so these values are also interned. Okay, so let's create a class just like add examples. Let me create another. equals okay. Okay, so let's say what are the various APIs actually we would be using. So let's say get length is actually, or you can always use a native function. So let me see. So starting from okay, the show string API. So let's create a string str and okay, string str is equal to hello world. So string is a special kind of where you can say object. So what is so special about strings? In here I haven't written string str is equal to new. Anyway, it's an object, and you know that all objects are created with new keyword, right? But string is special kind of object which is created whenever we are using string literals, right? So in double quotes, if I write anything, an object is created. So for this is the reason why we say that string is a special class, right? And we don't have to create a new keyword. When if I create, we should never use, or we should never create a string using new keyword. If I write here string str1 is equal to new string hello world, what happens? What happens here? Let's say I say new string hello world 1. So how many objects are created here in this, for this line, how many objects are created? First, as I've told you, anything anywhere in the program within the codes, it's going to create one object. So hello world one object is already created in the string intern pool, right? Now when I'm writing a new, then that means another object is created outside the pool. So there are two objects created here in this case, right? So which is a pure wastage of memory. So we never create a string like this. So when there are two objects created, one hello world one in the pool, another hello world one outside the pool. All the hello world one in the pool are interned, but outside the pool they are not interned. So this, we never create a string like this. So this is prohibited. This is wrong. So we don't use create new string like this. Okay. Then there are certain methods which are defined on string object. So you can say str dot, and there would be a lot of methods which are defined here. So we would be going through a couple of them. Char at, compare to, contains, content equals or equals. Okay. So let's see one by one. What does char at means? Char at means, let's say I have a string. The string is defined as hello world. Let me comment this. String is defined as hello world. Basically, the string in the memory is also actually stored as a group of characters. So this is my first character, second character, third, fourth, and they're all stored in continuous memory location in the string pool itself. So all these characters are stored together. So this is the 0th index, this is the first index, this is the second index. So I can always print the first index or the nth index by this particular method, char at. So I can define char at. If you see the definition of this, it returns the character value at the specified index, and index ranges from 0 to length minus 1. So if the length of the string is 6, so what is the last, let's say here, how many is this? 6 plus 5, 11. So if I want to access what is there at the last, what is the last character in the string, how can I access this? str.char at, I have to first find the length of the string. So for length of the string, int len is equal to, there is a method in this string API called length. So note the difference between str.length and array.length. In array.length, we don't use brackets, right? In string.length, we are using brackets. So it's a method defined on string API. So that is the reason we use brackets. And int len is going to give me the length of the string. Now I want to find the character at the end of the string. So what would be the character at the end of the string if the length of the string is len? So it would be str.char at len minus 1, because my index starts from 0 and goes up to len minus 1. Okay. Then we have str dot compare to. What does compare to? Read. Compares two strings lexicographically. The comparison is based on a Unicode value of each character in the string. So let me explain you in a better way. Let's say I have a string S1 which is equal to A B C. Now I have a string S2 is equal to D E F. Okay. So when I say S1 dot compare to S2. Let's see what does it print. And I'm writing another test class. So new class test string example. So I'll create an object of this class. Okay. And here I'm going to call that method. It says -3. What does it mean? It compares S1 with S2. The first character where it differs. The first character where it differs is the first character. And how many places does it difference? So what is the difference between the ASCII value of A and D? It is 3. So lexicographically, this particular string is less than this particular string. So this is what compare to means. Compared to, actually lexicographically it compares the two strings. Let's assume that the first character is same. We have A. Then also this particular string is less than this because the first different character is less than S2, right? B is less than E. And what would be the difference? So we have C, D, E, again -3. Let's say this is A, H, C. Now let's see what is the result. What should be the result now? Okay, so let's see what's the result. Now it is 3. Why it is 3? H is 3 places ahead of E, right? So it is lexicographically comparing these two strings. Okay. So then we have another important thing. We have these two strings S1 and S2. So if I write here, if S1 is equal to S2, strings are equal, else strings are not equal. Okay. So let's run this. Strings are not equal. Okay. Strings are not equal. So let's change this to AHC. Now run this. Now it says strings are equal. So why it says strings are equal? What does S1 equal to S2 means? It means it is actually comparing the object here. Here S1 and S2 are references, and since string interning, so they are both of them are pointing to the same object, right? So that means both are holding the same addresses, right? So that means whenever I'm writing S1 equal to 2, it's gonna give me strings are equal. Okay. Now let's say I write string S1 is equal to new string hello, and string S2 is equal to new string hello, and say S11, S21. Now let us run this. Now it says strings are not equal. Why it is happening strings are not equal? Although it contains the same strings, but still it is saying strings are not equal. Why? Because whenever we are using double equal to, it is not checking for the content. It is checking for the object reference. Now, whenever you create a new object, it creates a new object outside the string pool. So S11 is basically pointing to that object, and S21 is pointing to another object outside. So the object references are different. But if I say, so string objects are different. So S1 and S2, when double equality means reference equality. And if I say S11 dot equals S21, comment this. Now I say string objects are not equal, but strings are equal, because here now I'm not comparing on the reference. I'm comparing on the content. So equals basically means compares the value of that object or the content of what that object contains, right? And here it is comparing the reference. That's the reason these two results objects are not equal, but the values are equal. Okay, so this is a interview question. What is the difference between double equal to and dot equal? So this is reference equality, and this is content equality. Java, they use Unicode.
Okay.
So Unicode, for the basic things, it's just the same. Unicode actually contains a larger set of characters.
Okay.
Character has a corresponding ASCII value. Okay.
Okay, Shilpi. Yep. Thank you.
Okay. So these are the main. So this is the reference and content equality, which is a very common interview question also. So you should be very clear on these concepts. Then we have some other. Then we have concat. Concat, it is means that you are concatenating two strings. You are combining two strings, just like we do in SQL. We have vertical two pipes, right? So vertical bars are there to concat two strings. So here we can write this. So I can write let's say hello dot concat world. Okay, and I can run this hello world, right? So it just concats. But the more popular way, I would say, in Java to concat two strings is the plus operator. So you can write like let's say s string s3 is equal to s1 1 plus s2 1, or we can say, let's say, s1 1 space world. So plus is basically a concatenation operator in strings, right? So it does the same thing as dot concat. Okay. Then we have ends with. So ends with means, let's say this is S3 would be hello world. So I want to check whether the string ends with the LD or not. So if it ends with LD, then it's going to return me true. Otherwise, it's going to return false. Okay. So similarly, we have S3 dot starts with. So starts with again, it's like whether this particular string starts with particular number of characters or not. So let's say I want to say check whether starts with this particular S3, which is a string, starts with the HE or not. Okay. So if it returns true, if it starts with this, if it returns false, if it doesn't. Okay. Then we have index of, which is actually a very important method. So if you want to search for a particular character in a string, so let's say your string S3 here would be hello world, hello space world, right? And you want to search for O. So you can write here index of O, and let's see what it returns. So here it says 4. So 4 means 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. So this is the fourth, or fourth, the index of this O is 4 in this particular string. Similarly, there are actually certain overloaded this is an overloaded method, means it can take different arguments. So if you see here, index of has 4 various different kinds of parameters. First, it can take character, right? The other thing, it can take string, then it can take character from a particular index and a string from a particular index. So let's see what does it means. This is a character, like character is enclosed within single quotes. Now you can actually search for a particular string also. So I can say index of WO. So this is a string. Okay. And this is going to give me 6, right? So this is the 6th position from which this particular string is starting, right? Now let's say I want to locate in this hello world, there are 2 O's, right? So I want to find the location of the second one. Okay. So second one is basically after the first one. Okay. So the index of the first one is say int index 1 is equal to this, right? So index 1 is this is gonna give me 4, right? Now I want to search after this location. So I can write here in S3 dot index of O from index. I want to search after index 1. So I would say in index 1 plus 1. So start searching from the one position after index 1. So let's see what it gives. Now it is giving me 7 because we have another O after W, right? So index of with the second parameter, it's an optional thing. If it is there, then it's going to search after this particular from this particular location, not after, from this particular index. Okay. Similarly, we have world, right? Instead of character, the same thing applies to the string. So you can search for a string after a particular length. Okay. Then we have some other methods, very important methods. You can search for last index of. What does last index means? It would start not from the first character, it would start searching from the last character. So if I say last of O, this is going to give me 7 because here it is searching from the end, not from the front, right? Index 1 searches from the front, last index of searches from the end and returns the index of the first matching character which is mentioned here in the string. Yes, Kavita, we need to remember all these methods for the interviews. It's important. I'm not asking you to do all the methods because if you know the API, you would be able to apply in the examples. So we would be doing certain examples where all these things would be required. Okay. Then we have replace. Replace is going to replace the old character with a new character. So I want to, let's say, replace small h with capital H. Okay. And then I want to sys out S3. Now if you see my the S3 has been replaced by small h has been replaced by capital H. Okay. So similarly we have let's say I want to replace O by capital O. Let's see what happens. So all O's, even if they're more than one, they would be replaced by whatever the character you have provided, right? So this is replace. Okay. Then we have some more. Okay. Then we have a split. Split is again a very important method. So let's say you have a string like this. So you have a string sentence is equal to uh, okay. So this is a sentence and you want to split this sentence by a certain character, which is basically a space, right? So what you can write, so this is a split function which returns an array of strings, and every element of an array would be actually the word which is splitted by that particular character. So I can write here, so I have to create actually a string array of strings. Say I create an array strings of words is equal to sentence dot split, and dot split I want to split by space. Okay, and this is gonna give me an array of strings, and which in which the every string would be this is a beautiful day. Now I can actually print this array of strings like this. So I would use in a for each loop. So I would say string x in words, say so x. Okay. So if you see there, this was your sentence, and now these are the various elements which have been splitted. Now we can use this if we like. There could be multiple instances. Let's say there is a domain name like www.byteboxqa.com. Okay, so you want to find out what is the domain name, like it's a .com, .co, .in, whatever it is. You want to name the DNS, actual DNS, whitebox QS. You can actually split it by dot, right? So this is a very useful method which would be used in a couple of you can say programming that you would be doing while running your test script. Okay. Then we have let's say we have length we have seen, and it can there is a method called isEmpty which is actually tells you whether the length is 0 or not. IsEmpty is not equal to null. So if it's null, it's gonna throw the exception. That means it will throw an error. Okay. Then we have this one, substring. Substring means see the definition for this. Substring is gonna extract a substring from the string. So in the sense, if you give us some index, it's gonna extract that substring. So let's say your S3 is let me put this substring on sentence. So I want to extract, let's say, from fifth character onwards. Let's from 4. I want to extract and I want to put it into a separate string. Say new sentence. Okay. So if you see here from the fourth character, so fourth index, so it would be 0, 1, 2, 3, 4. It is extract. It has extracted until the length of the statement. So there is a variation here. Instead of to the end of the statement, you can actually extract a part of it also. So you can write sentence dot substring begin and end. So you can always give begin and end. So you can, let's say I want to extract from 3 to 9, right? So you can sys out this. So from third index to ninth index, it's extracted. So substring is used to extract, just like substr in SQL. So we use substring here. Okay. Okay. So let me see if there are any other important. Then we have format, and we have value of. Value of, for example, let's say there is an integer. Integer I is equal to 5. Now this is an integer, but I want to convert it into a string. So I can write value of I. So whatever it is written, it would be, the value would be converted into a string. So value of has different overloaded methods. So if you see, it can take an integer, it can take a boolean, it can take an array also, right? You can convert an array into a string also. For example, let's say I create a character array. So character array, say r is equal to new char, say a comma b comma c, and let's print string dot value of r. Okay. So it converted this character array into a string, and it is printed ABC. So you can in fact convert an integer array also, not only a character array. Like if I can create an integer array. So r1 is equal to new, say 1, 4, 5, and value of r1. So it is gonna convert the this into an integer array. So this is basically an hash code corresponding to this array, but it is now it is converted into a integer, into a string, right? Then what else? We have S4. Then you can actually, there are certain other like 2 character array. So you can convert a string to a character array also. So this is very useful when you are doing some operations on various, you can say, characters of the string. So 2 char array converts into a character array. So I can write here like this. char array my str add. So this is gonna convert it into an array. So now this array is gonna have all the characters which are present in the S3, right? So you can do the conversion of this kind. So this is array to string and this is string to array. Then we have lowercase, uppercase. So you can convert all the characters to lowercase. You can convert into an uppercase. Similarly, we have uppercase. Then we have trim. Trim is actually gonna trim the white spaces from left and right side, not between the string, but left and right side. It's gonna trim. So if your string is something like this, let's say space ABC and some space, then it's when I say this dot trim and I print this, it's gonna retrieve only the characters. The spaces on left side and right side are trimmed. But if there are any spaces in between, that won't be trimmed. So that would be preserved. Okay. So these are the certain APIs, and we have actually, let's see if there are some more. Yeah. Yeah, I think we are good. There is copy value of like return the string that represents the character sequence, and then we have format. Format is basically if you are a C++ student, you must be using %s and %f. So you can format a particular string using format. You can explore these APIs, and there are and do some examples. So let's do certain examples where we would be using these kind of APIs. Okay. So let's create few examples. So the first most popular question in the interviews is write a method to this method reverses a string. Okay, so for this method, as we know that for every method or logic, we need to write an algorithm. So let's say that I have a string str is equal to ABC. Now I want to produce a string with values as CBA. So my new string, like my output, should be CBA. So this is my output, this is my input. So how can I do that? So Tripti is saying we can convert it into an array, character array,
Character array,
and
yeah.
print it in the reverse order. Okay, that's what you
Yeah.
are saying, right? So
Yeah.
let's see this. So let me make it static. It's static, and I want to return a string. Okay, so the name would be reverse str, and input would be a string, right?
Yeah.
String str. Now she says that I want to convert it into a character array. So for this, we need to use the API toChar array, right? So,
Yeah.
so let's create an array. R is equal to str dot toChar array. Now I would traverse it to the length of the string. So I would say for I can do anything. Now
Enter.
let's see. string x in R, and I would create a temporary string. Let's say I want to string temp or string return is equal to null, and I would say return plus equal to, what should I write here?
Shilpi, like here you are using the other loop, for loop. Basically, I would like to use the older version, like older loop. Start with the last index and then end it with the first index.
No, it doesn't matter. Like, okay, here, okay, we are doing it in forward. Okay,
Yeah.
we want to do it in the backward. So int I
Yeah.
is equal to str dot len
-1.
minus 1 minus 1. I is greater than equal to 0.
Yeah.
I minus minus.
Yeah.
Okay, and here I would be appending r I.
Yeah.
Okay, and appending it to ret, and I would be return ret. Okay, that's it.
Yeah.
So now I would call this method and I say dot reverse, and you can reverse any string. Let's say hello world, and let's just out this. So your okay, string is basically so did I print the string? Yeah, so I must have printed it. Why is it appending null? Okay, so it is printing the string in the reverse order, right? So what we did in this example, we started from the last index and just appended it to a temporary string. We created a new string, blank string, and we appended all the characters. We read the characters in the reverse order. So if the string is ABC, we are reading C first and appending it to this new RET. Then in the next iteration, we are reading B and appending it to the RET. So similarly, after all the iterations have done, RET would have the string in the reverse order. So for in this particular method, so how many times the iterations have been done? The iterations are equal to the number of the characters in the string, right? So we can do this in another way also. So here the number of iterations depending upon the are equal to the characters in the string. So if somebody asks you, can you improvise this particular algorithm? So we can say yes. So let's say your string is A, B, C, D, E, F. So when I want to reverse this string, what is the other way apart from this? Here we are actually creating creating a character array, right? And we are creating a temporary string, right? And then we are adding it to string. So how many objects are we creating? So a character array we are creating, RET we are creating, and now RET has 3 iterations. That means 3 other objects are created. So many objects are created here in this particular method. So can we improvise this? Can we have a better logic for this? Definitely yes. So Please tell me another logic for reversing this.
Into a temporary array.
So we tell me something else. So I just want to reduce the number of iterations.
Yeah, Shilpi, I'm not. I don't know then.
Okay.
I don't remember it.
Okay. So let's say you have this particular string, right? You want to reverse it. So let's say I just swap A and F. So it would be F, B, C, D, E, A.
Yeah.
Okay. Then I swap B and E. Okay. So it would be something like E and B swap. Then I swap C and D. So my whole reverse string is reversed. And how many iterations? Half of the iterations.
Okay. Yeah. So you will just, okay.
So I can write the same logic. So I would use the same logic like this. So I would say reverse string 1. So I would say I would still convert into a character array. And instead of doing this, so I would iterate it from 0 to I is less than str dot length divided by 2. I just have to iterate to half of the length, right? I plus plus. And then I have to swap the first and the last. So let's say the length is int len is equal to str dot length. str dot length. And this would be len by 2, right? And then I create a temporary variable int temp, and I can say int temp or I can use char, it doesn't matter. Char temp is equal to, I have to swap the first and last, right? So I would take the first character in a temporary location. So I would say as ar I. Then I would say ar I. How would I swap it? So what is the last, first and last? Last would be
I minus 1. Oh, len
minus,
yeah,
len minus 1, right?
len minus 1, yeah.
So if it is 0, then see if it is, let's say your string str is equal to A, B, C, D, E, F. Okay. So you want to swap A with F, B with E, and C with D, right? So what is the index of A? 0 with 5, right?
Yeah.
1
and
with
4.
4 and 2 with 3, right?
Yeah.
So what is 0? Let's say 0, 1, 2 is I. Then what is 5, 4, 3? I, len minus I.
Yeah.
Len minus I minus length is 6. 6 minus I minus 1.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So I am replacing I with len minus I minus 1. Length is 6, right?
Yeah.
The length is, len is equal to 6.
6, yeah.
This is, okay. So this is 5 is 6 minus 1. This is 6 minus 2, right?
Yeah.
This 4 is, and 3 is 6 minus
3,
right? So what is 1? Can you put 1, 2, 3 in terms of 0, 1, 2? This is equal to 6 minus 0 minus 1. This is equal to 6 minus 6
1
minus 1 minus
2.
1 So I'm just putting it in the terms of 0, 1 and 2, right?
Okay.
So this is equal to 6 minus 2 minus 1, right? So which is equal to I minus len minus I minus 1. This is len minus I minus 1.
Yeah. Yeah, Shilpi, got it.
The performance is basically affected when the number of iterations are there and there are number of temporary variables are substantially increased. Okay, so if you can find a logic where you don't have to create this array or you don't have to create all these things, probably that would be a better logic. So try to find another algorithm wherein you are not creating so many temporary variables. So here it would be ri minus would be replaced with r uh, r len minus I minus 1, and then r len minus I minus 1 would be equal to ri. So I'm just swapping these two. So to swap, actually I have to store the first one, like I have to store this a into a temporary variable and then copy the value of a to f, and then copying the value of again f to a. Okay, so this way we are actually swapping. Now if I ask you, if there are, let's say there are two integers, a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3, I want you to tell me the logic. I want to swap these values. I want a is equal to 2 and b is equal to 3. So write me algorithm to swap these values without using a temporary variable. This is again an interview question and it is being asked a lot of times in interviews. Swap two values of integers without using temporary variable. Okay, so let's say we have a and b, right? So a, I can write a is equal to a plus b. So now a holds the values a as well as b, right? B now here a would be, let's say, sorry, this is 4, this is 8. Let me make, this is 9. So a would be 4 plus 9 equals 13 and b is still 9, right? Then I can say b is equal to, I want to make it as a. So I can say b is equal to a minus b. So which is 13 minus 9 equals 4. So b has got the value of 4, but a is still 13, right? At this point of time, a is still 13 and b is 4. So how can I get a? Again, I can say a equals a minus b. So this would be 13 minus 4 equals 9. Okay, this was not that tough, right? So okay, let me give you another exercise. Let's say there are two baskets. This is again an interview question. Okay, so there are two baskets, buckets I would say, of size 3 liter and 5 liter, and you have to measure 4 liters exactly. How would you do that? Yeah, this was on in the testing. So
with that water, I have to put
fill 5 liter.
5 liter, put it in 3 liter bucket.
So put it in 3 liter.
3 liter bucket.
Good, good.
Then 2 liter water is left there.
Yeah, 2 liter is left in 5 liter bucket.
Yes.
Good.
Now I have to throw away 3 liter bucket water.
Yeah,
And
throw
pour
away
2 liter
3 liter water
and pour 2 liter water in 3 liter bucket.
and pour
That remaining in 5 liter bucket there is a 2 liter, right? So I have to pour the 2 liter water in 3 liter bucket.
Yeah, and pour 2 liter in 3 liter bucket.
Bucket. Okay. Now again I have to fill up 5 liter bucket.
Fill 5 liter bucket.
And put that water in 3 liter bucket.
Put
so
that
2 liter left.
in 3 liter, which already contain 2 liters, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Contained 2 liters. So only.
So now 5 liter bucket has 4 liter water.
Yes. Now 5, because only 1 liter would be poured into that one. So now 5 liter contains exactly 4 liters.
Yes.
Okay. Good job. Okay. So thank you, Kaberi. So you would be the next person to get the placement. So another question, and I'll do this as a homework. There are 9 balls of same size except one ball. Okay, so you have a scale, right? You have a scale with 2 sides, so it's like double weight, right? So you can put balls on both sides, and you have a scale, and in two chances you have to find the ball which is of less weight. Okay, so only there are 9 balls, all of same weight, I would say, size and weight. So they look same size and weight except one. So one has the same size but a different weight. So you have to find that ball, and you have just 2 chances to weigh. Okay, so do this as a homework and let me know. This is again an interview question. Okay, coming back to strings. And apart from eating almonds, you can actually increase the logic by solving these kind of problems. There are plenty of these kind of problems on internet, so please do some these kind of exercises, and it really helps to improve your logic. So strings, as we have seen, there are a couple of APIs. So there are another API apart from strings, which is called string buffer and string builder. What is the difference between string and string buffer and builder? So as we know that string is immutable. That means once it is created, you cannot change the value of the string. But string buffer and string builder are mutable. That means whenever you are making changes in string buffer or string builder, it actually changes. It can make changes in the same object. So when you write a code like this, so let's create a string buffer. So here in the main I can create. So you can create a string buffer is equal to new string buffer, and you can say hello world So this creates a string in the a new object with value hello world, right? And this is mutable. That means when you write buff dot let's say append means you are appending a string onto hello world. So hello world 1 2 3. So it doesn't create a new string. It basically appends in the same thing. So but in string, if I write something like this, string str is equal to hello world, and if I say str plus equal to 1 2 3, so another string is created with the new value, but here the same object has been appended. So this is called these are basically mutable. It's a mutable class. That means the values are can be changed. It's not like that string that where the values cannot be changed. Similarly, string builder is does the same thing, and it has the same API also. So string buffer has a little different API from strings. Like append is there, so you can append at the end of the string, and there is a reverse here. So reverse is there. Delete is there, so you can actually delete from a starting index and a ending index. And ensure capacity is like if you want to reserve a particular you want to reserve it 20 spaces for a string buffer. So initially what happens when you create a string buffer without any constructor, let's say I don't use this, then 20 bytes of memory is preserved for this thing. And when you add, let's say you want to add, you are adding a very long string or something, it relocates this object to another position, another location in the memory, and points buff to that new location. Okay, but initially it allocates around 20 bytes of memory. So let's say you want to create a string with 100 bytes. So you can initially you can say buff dot ensure capacity, let's say 200 bytes. So it will make sure that this particular buff is created at a place where 200 bytes are available, and then whatever you add, that can be stored nicely in this location. So apart from this, they have another, so reverse is there. So this is basically a shortcut of what we did in the last method. So you can actually, string API does not have reverse method. So what we can do, we can create, if I want to reverse a string, let's say I want to reverse str is equal to hello. So what I can do, I can create a string buffer. New string buffer, and I can initialize it with this particular string. And I can say buff1 dot reverse. So it's going to reverse the value, and then I want to, so I can say str dot value of can say string dot value of buff1 str1 is equal to this. So you can copy the reverse value would be copied to str1. So this is another shortcut of reversing a string using the string buffer API. Okay. So what is the difference between string buffer and string builder? So string builder again has the same API. Then what is the difference? This is an important interview question. Both are mutable, but string buffer is synchronized, while string builder is not. Okay, what does synchronized mean? Now actually here the concept of multi-threading comes in. What does multi-threading means? So we have actually discussed this in our operating system class, like uh, a single program can be, there can be couple of instances of the single program running. Like you can divide a single program, let's say GoToMeeting is my program, it is an application, right? So there in that application, there could be method 1, method 2, there could be different blocks of code also. So those blocks of code, either they can run sequentially, and there can be different processes where all these blocks of code can be run concurrently, right? For example, when I'm running GoToMeeting, I can actually mute, unmute, I am talking, I'm receiving the chat, all the things I'm doing at the same time. It's the same application, right? It's a single block of code. A single, you can say GoToMeeting.exe, the same one process, but there are multiple threads which are running. And each thread is basically accessing different parts of the program. Okay, so when you make a string buffer as when you create a string as any object as synchronized, that means when one thread is basically manipulating or that particular object, the other thread has to wait. It cannot access it unless the first thread has done the changes. For example, I'm trying to I create a string buffer object. So I will create string buffer, buff is equal to new string buffer something. I create this, right? So there are, let's say, two threads running, which are now I'm writing buff is equal to something else. So something else. So I'm changing it. So here, if you think it's very fast, but let's say two programs are accessing, two threads are accessing the same code. So the other thread is, when it is trying to change, the other thread would wait if it is synchronized, because string buffer is synchronized. It will wait until it has changed, and the changed value would be used. But string builder, if in the string builder, if I instead of string buffer, I use a string builder object, then the other thread can access it at the same time the first thread is changing. So it would give vague results. Okay, if it tries to access before it changes, then it would give something. If it tries to access it while it is doing, probably it would give something which we don't know. So it would give different results. So in a multi-threaded application, we prefer using string buffer. Okay, and all the synchronized APIs. So string buffer is not the only API which is synchronized. There are multiple APIs which are synchronized. These really make it in multi-threaded application became slower, because definitely the other thread has to wait. But if a single threaded application, like our all applications, whatever programs I'm writing, it is a single threaded, they're all single threaded applications. So here it really doesn't matter whether you use string buffer or a string builder. Okay, so in this case, string builder is going to perform in a better way as compared to string buffer. Okay. So let's do a couple of examples. So so this method, so let's say there is a string like this. String str is equal to okay, and I want to create another string which is gonna append the to every word you can say the word X. How can I do that? So what is the logic for this? So public strings, let's make it static. So what I have to do? First, I have to split this into all the words, right? So what I'll be writing here, creating a string array. So string words is equal to str dot split, and I would split it by space. And then what I'll do, I'll say int I is equal to 0, I is less than string dot length. How many words are there? How can I find? How many words are there? So I have to find the length of the array. So what is the length of the array? Words dot length. This is going to give me the length of the array. Then I plus plus. Now I have to create the new string. So I would say new str is equal to, first I have to add the first I, then I have to add the index. So index, instead of 0, I have to add plus 1. So and I have to put this into a bracket so that first it is added and then appended to a string. So you have to think about the way the precedence. So remember the precedence rules. So first brackets are always executed first. So I want to increase it by 1 because here it is not 0. I although is 0, but I want to append 1. So I would be adding 1 and adding to new str, and I would return new str. Okay. So let's test this. And I want to this out. Okay. It's not. Why is it not plus equal to haven't written? Okay. This is plus equal to. Okay. If you see is like 1 is 2, good 3. Now if you see there is no space here. So I need to append that space because when it splits on the spaces, and that space is not included in the word. So if I have to actually change this logic and I add a space here. And done this again. Okay. This is one way of doing it. Tell me another way. So this is use this as your homework. What you can do is read every character of the string. Read every character. If the character equals space, then instead of the space, add the index. Add a counter. So your counter starts with 1. Then add the space, then read another character until you find another space. Then just do it in a loop. So you have your loop starts from the 0th index and ends with the length of the string. Okay, and you have to read each and every character and replace space by the logic and that thing. Kavita, append and that those are different APIs, right? So I just wanted a different logic. Okay. Let's do another method, some other program. Let's say that your string is like this. A string URL is equal to let's say http dot whiteboxqa.com. Okay, and you have to find, and then there is another http www dot let's say new tours dot demo aut. Let's say new .com. So you have to, this method counts the number of URLs in the string. Okay, so how can you do that? This is very easy. Sub-str, some people are saying sub-str. Sub-str is for extracting by giving an index. I don't know where semicolon is. So instead of sub-str, we can do one thing. Either we can use index of, or I can use again split. So using these two, we can actually find. So index of, if I say find the index of semicolon, right? So it is going to give me the index of this, and then have to iterate it through end of the string. I don't know how many URLs are there. There could be 5, there could be 10. So I have to iterate it through the length of the string until the index of results in a negative value. So this is can also be used, or you can split it on semicolon, and whatever the array is there, so find the length of the array, right? So when you split it on this, let's say the array length comes out to be 3. So there are 3 URLs. So what is the method? The method counts the number of URLs. So please do this as your homework, so I can write this.